That's what it was like, dude. It was like hanging out with a corpse, man.
Wow.
Like she was totally like out of all energy, and like as far as a life form goes, she wasn't alive for like 4 or 5 days. It's pretty intense.
Yeah. How old was she again?
Like 91.
What was her name?
Yuer. Yuer. Y-U-E-R. I have some video of her like whenever she was alive and stuff. Where I had tried, huh? Oh. Did you get on that? No, like whenever she was alive, she'd go through her stuff, and I was trying to document it, you know, because from the time that I met her, it seemed like she was gonna die any day. She was so old, you know. I never really made the acquaintance of somebody in their late 80s, you know. So like, this wasn't like grandma. This was like somebody who was like this old lady that I met, who was just like trying to be a friend because she was just like a person. It was kind of like a lonely person. It was an artist that was interested in me because I was an artist and because I was young, I guess, and now she's real old like that, so she wouldn't hang out and talk. But then I'm interested in her because to me she's all so heavy, like little like Miyagi lady, all like into Carl Jung and the collective unconscious and Tai Chi and stuff. So.
Did she live her whole life up there?
Yeah, I think she grew up in Inglewood, but she'd been in Echo Park since before there were other houses up there. Like she talked about her space whenever she would look out to downtown and there were no other houses in the way at all. So she'd been there for a long time. I mean,
that's where she was teaching Tai Chi, right?
Yeah, she was already settled at that point right there. And this is pretty far back. Let's see, what was the another picture? This was, I mean, this was probably in the 70s.
So beautiful,
Wow. In Echo Park. Come on, dude. And that's what I walked into when I first met her. I'm like, this is behind a red gate. You don't know that there's something like this. I mean, look at that. Looks like a zoo or like some sort of like sanctuary. Like you go to some museum or something, you know? Full on. That's what it was like, man. Koi fish floating around in there. Her sculptures like everywhere with bamboo and like the landscaping was all ornate with like bamboo and little pots and stuff everywhere.
It's kind of cool, the old lady teaching like a little hippie girl.
Yeah, I know, right? Hold on. But that's what I'm saying though. She was totally like that. She was this little Yoda lady, man. You know? She's this little Yoda lady, little Jedi up in Echo Park. It was a trip. But you don't want to look at her that way because she's all senile and losing it the whole time.
Yeah.
So she's all heavy when you can get her to relax and talk and be heavy. But that was kind of hard. And in the end, it was unusual. In the end, it was like you couldn't tap into that. Leading up into it, I felt special because I felt like I could do that. And I would see how she'd relate with the nurses. And I'd see how she'd talk to the neighbors and the people that would come around besides me. And she would talk to them like she was an old lady that was kind of losing it. But whenever I'd sit down with her, she'd get all deep with me sometimes, like spilling like philosophy and like talking to me about her life. Like that's whenever I was going through like the breakup with Sarah, and you saw me then all desperate. Oh God, I'm dying here. And then that lady could read it on me. Like I'd walk into her space, and then she'd like totally like a psychologist or something. She'd sit there and pull me apart, like pulling out what was going through my head, and then talk to me about how she would handle it. Where she's all like, "Oh, I don't remember." Like one day I'm down there like halfway in tears, like falling apart because of the breakup, and she's like, "I don't think I ever felt that way. I was too strong for that." And then I'm all like, "What?" Like looking at some of this art where it's like nothing but that. When I'm looking at something like, let me find some of her tragic stuff, man. She's got some paintings and pieces that just they exude that feeling, where it's just all about like, or like let's see, like this shit. Like that's all about like like there's some pain in there, you know.
looked like you when you broke them.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and then I would go to her like, "Don't tell me you never felt that," because it's all over this place. Like this, like her art gets real dark like that. She'd be like, "I never felt it because I did it in my art," or something like that. Like to me, that's all like desperate, dude.
That's crazy.
Actually, while I was talking to her, we were sitting by those pieces, and she had a whole series of the ones that are in bathtubs like that. And so I pointed that out to her, saying like, "That looks pretty desperate." You know, to me, like that looks like it's hurting like that. You're telling me you never felt that way, and she was like, "No, that's how I got it out. No, I wouldn't show somebody this thing you're showing me right now because I was in my studio making art with this feeling." And so like that made it so that all this stuff is like a diary of hers.
Yeah.
So she wasn't selling it. She didn't try to even really show it to anybody. It's her diary.
Yeah.
It's like her insides and stuff, and so it's real personal to her. But then later on, her whole thing was like she didn't even remember making it really. So she was kind of like, someone else made this. I don't really remember it. That was a long time ago. Who made that? Me? Oh, it sure looks nice, doesn't it? I guess it's pretty cool, you know. By that time, she's like regretting still having all of it. Leading up to that, she apparently was pretty like strong about like holding on to it. Like she never like, so many artists that I know, myself being included, I give a bunch of stuff away. I make shit. I'm not gonna just keep it in the studio or something.
Yeah.
I'll give it away before I'll give it away just as well as sell it, like just to get it out.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
She was real kind of stingy about it like that. She didn't want to share it that way her whole fucking life, man.
Some of these dates go back, what, 70 years, 60 years?
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's stuff back here in the like 40s, late 30s, 40s, man. Like 58, Wonder Bread lady. Her hands are kind of creepy.
Hold it up, right?
June 27th, 1958. I like her robe. Pretty cool, you know? I mean, it's tripped out. Like, what a trippy drawing. All the, like, the texture in it and stuff, and the watercolorness about it, but it's just tripped out. And she's got dozens and dozens of them. Like all these were the ones that were shown. The ones that are framed were the only ones that she ever really showed, and they framed them because she donated all this art to the Otis University.
Oh, she did, Otis?
She donated it to the Otis, but then the Otis gave it all back. Like they did a show with it. She wasn't real happy with the show that they did, first off. Second off, she ended up being in a home, a community nursing home, and her family had to sue the college to get her stuff back because they needed to put her in a better space. Look at the shoes.
Oh, shit.
Check out those shoes. What she's trying out some tripped out shoes. 1954. Some sweet Reeboks or something. I'm like, no, put on the high heel shoe.
It's like some fucking twisted Cinderella story.
I know what's going on there, dude.
Very appropriate.
Chilling. No, what happened was they put her in this home, and then it was kind of dark because the home that she was in wasn't very, it wasn't cool. It was like a asylum. It was the Alzheimer's unit in a community nursing home. Family sued the university. They had to borrow $5,000 from the college in order to sue the college.
Really?
Yeah, to get her put into a better space. Whenever they did that, they admitted to not really knowing what they were going to do with all this art. There's so much of it that they've said that they've dealt with collections like this before, and they don't display art. Their intention wasn't necessarily to get it to put it on display because there's so much of it. So it ends up in a storage space. You know, what do you do with this much art?
And that's exactly what she didn't want it to be, too.
That's exactly why she did it, donated to them, was so that that wouldn't happen.
Right.
And she expressed that from the time that I first met her, you know. That was what she was expressing to me from the start. It was like that was why she introduced herself to me, to help her with that, because she had gotten herself into that thing, but she could see that it wasn't going the way that she wanted to go, but she was out of control by that point. And so she would like express that to me, but then I wasn't trying to get too deep or like involved in it, because I didn't want it to become a thing where I was supposed to. I didn't want anyone to ever think that I was trying to inherit anything from this lady.
Yeah.
Like, it's just too shady that way, because I'm young. She's old, looking like she's already like on her last leg, and all of a sudden she's talking to me, giving me little dollar signs in my eyes whenever she's talking about like, I'd like to donate it all to you. Sitting in this badass estate at the top of the hill in Echo Park, you know, naturally I can't help it but be like, whoa. But then at the same time, I'm like, I don't want anyone ever to think that that's why I'm hanging out. Because I was hanging out every day, all the time, and I didn't want it to be like, I didn't want there to ever be this like moment of anyone thinking that I was getting all in a colon or anything. You know, I didn't want that to be the case, because I was tripping on this little like Jedi up the hill, you know. And in addition to the fact that I don't want her to think that. I don't ever want her in her mind ever to let that like cross her mind, because I would sit down there and trip out on her wisdom, you know. She was real heavy. And so then in the end, they sued him, got all this art back, and then they came to me kind of like, well, you know, she would have wanted you to help distribute it. If you want to help, then we'll help. Then we'll give you a like percentage of it or whatever. Well, I'm kind of like, we had done shows with it. I know that it'll go like that.
Yeah.
Like there are people out there that want this kind of art, and there's a real story behind it, you know.
Yeah.
But still, I'm not trying to make profit off of it. And the whole time that she was alive, the reason that I couldn't do that was because I felt like I was working on my own stuff. I had my own projects that I spend all of my time with, you know. So I would tell her, oh, you got to show this to the world. But I don't really know how to help you because I'm so busy. I work nights, you know. I'm at work until 2 o'clock in the morning, and then I get up and come over here and see you. But I don't have time to be like going to galleries trying to set up a show for you for this stuff that we can't even sell, because like she couldn't even like register. She didn't understand money, and she didn't understand. But the whole time I knew her, she couldn't. Like money went beyond her. Dollar signs, numbers weren't even a part of it. She couldn't even really tell you how old she was, much less how much she wants to charge for a piece. But it's her pieces, you know, so it's hard to, like, for me to say, okay, well, this is worth $1,000, this is worth $2,000, whenever she held on to it her whole damn life. Like, that makes it, like, priceless.
Yeah.
Somehow, like, if she can't tell me. One time we did a show for her downtown, and a lady came up and saw this wooden sculpture, like that one, but bigger. It was like the one on the corner over there, but, like, way bigger. And this lady's like, oh, I'm visiting from New York, and this goes so perfect with my house, and you can't show it to me and then tell me it's not for sale. Look at all of this art. Because we had the art set up like this in a gallery kind of context. So instead of it hanging on the walls, people came in and went through it. Had the ionosphere set up, and Ricky was playing harp, and June was sitting in a rocking chair over in the corner of the room. And so we were introducing, we were saying, we're not doing this show to sell art. We're doing this show to show this art to people so that June can see you people tripping out on the art. So that's the purpose here. It's not for sale. Like, I don't want, and at the same time, that was when it belonged to the Otis. So I didn't want the Otis thinking that I'm trying to sell their stuff, you know? So this lady comes in there and is all freaking out about it, like, you can't show me this piece without selling it to me. You can't tell me that out of all this stuff you can't part with this piece. And I'm like, that's all I can do. Like, I can't put a price on it. This is kind of like priceless. Like, it's this heavy mahogany piece of wood.
Yeah, what do you do? Like in a case like that where someone just loved it.
She was freaking out about it. And she went to an ATM and came back with $2,500 cash. A wad of $100 bills, saying, look, I'm giving you this. Now you're giving me this. And I'm kind of like, look, June, look at how much she likes your piece. But I'm kind of laughing at the lady the whole time, like, what do you want me to do about it? It's her art. It's not my art to sell, you know? So I'm the one that's talking for her, because she can't think like that. And then June's kind of like, if she wants it so much, why would I take it home with me? Like, okay, all right, there you go, it's yours. And then they stood there for an hour trying to get June to sign the bottom of the damn thing. And she, like I said, she was so far gone at that time that she She was like all like wrapped up in this weird scene with drum and bass music playing over in the corner over there. Little green-haired girls kneeling at her feet. I love you. You're so wonderful. She'd never been in that world whatsoever. Not even a little piece of it. Even with her hippie lifestyle and everything, all of a sudden she's all downtown LA burner art festival thing. It was so cool. But then that same night, she like started, like we sold the piece to the lady. And then later on, she's like all in tears while I'm driving her home. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. You've been to art shows before. And like, look around at all the art that you've done. You've had people admire your stuff. And you have to have sold stuff in your life. Why is this so affecting you like that? She's like, well, the last time that I went to an art show, it was more like going to school. It was nothing like that. I've never seen an art show like that. When you went to art shows, when I used to go to art shows, it was like stuffy. And everybody was there to criticize one another. It wasn't like what you took me to just now.
Shit. So she was crying out of happiness then, huh?
Yeah, totally. No, she was crying because she got the chance to experience that thing, which as an artist, she was a female artist and probably hasn't been going out as an artist and hanging out at art shows and stuff since like the 60s and 70s. Like since then she was too old. She hung out at her house all the time. You know, like before, whenever she was in the art world and going out and like checking stuff out, that was like a whole different world. There was no such thing as all of these. Like even then you can tell, even like I've read some of her stuff she's written and like she'll like quote Bob Dylan and some stuff, or like all of her stuff comes from this real like Eastern mysticism style perspective, where she was around back in the day. She was around when there was people tripping and stuff, and she was hanging out with hippie style people, you know. But as an artist, that wasn't for like, it was more formal. As an artist, everything was formal. You can see it, like that's her trip. Like it was all formal, like it would be going to school. It's not green-haired kids doing this thing, you know. That was the kids that were going out and tripping out on her like that, you know, not going and watching her art. And
I was going to say, because she spent so much time by herself and in her world doing her thing, and this is her life's work, it must have been overwhelming for her to see that people could relate, or
that people could even, no, it tripped her out. I would bring people to her house, and they'd be sitting there going through all of her stuff, and I remember my friend JD went over there one time, and afterwards she was just so excited, like, I've never seen anybody pay that much attention. People just kind of go through it, but he was looking at every piece, and I'm like, because he's interested in it, like, it's cool like that. Everybody wants to go through it. He feels, like, honored to be able to go through it that way.
Yeah.
But she's like, nobody's interested in this stuff. Who cares? Like, that was how she was about it. But she has got all of it, so she had to know to a certain extent that it was valuable. It was precious like that. A real artist or whatever for a long time. But
I love that one. So,
this one right here and this one.
the Tai Chi.
Yeah, that one's, it's got it all.
So beautiful.
Pull that one up if you can.
This whole series of stuff, like she did a whole group of them because she had a.
It's gorgeous. Wow.
That one's called Tai Chi. It was painted in 1965.
1965.
1965. She painted these whenever she was dating a Tai Chi master, and this was the last series of works that she did with that. Like, she did this series and then stopped painting through most of the 70s because she was, she felt like she had been like dedicating all of herself to her art, and she was ready to dedicate all of herself to her Tai Chi.
Right.
And so she, at this time when she was painting this, she was involved with the Tai Chi master who was teaching her all the stuff, but then I guess she took that on for as herself, like she became the master or whatever, stopped seeing that dude, stopped painting until the 80s or 90s, late 80s, early 90s, and then started painting all the time. So there's like nothing from the 70s really. The 70s and early 80s are blank.
That piece is just mind-blowing.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the shadow.
Unbelievable, yeah, the shadow.
The shadow, I wonder
amazing.
what those things
Different layers
mean.
of colors.
There's a crazy space to it. Light bursting out.
And all the different weird texture, it's crazy. There's another one back here that way cool from the same series. I mean, the crazy thing, I mean, these are, like I say, I'm sitting here telling the story of that one little series of paintings, or this little series of paintings, and it like, it goes on and on. After she moved out of her house, we uncovered like another group of like these portfolio cases that had like another 300 or 400 pieces in it. They were all watercolor and like little illustrations. Besides all of this one's called, "Is he leading me to the light or preventing my passage?"
Wow.
Right?
It's beautiful.
The red shadow on it and
Beautiful,
stuff,
yeah.
man. Heck yeah. So like sometimes it's kind of weird because you find some pieces that are all like, she was dating an artist for a long time, and you can see where they would almost like study other artists' works, like Picasso's, and make it to where like a whole bunch of them are all super cubist or something. And then like you'll see there was this book of African figures that she had at her house. There was another artist that a lot of these look just like. So that's kind of part of the reason that it's hard to like, the appraisers had a hard time coming up with a value for the art because so much of it seems kind of derivative. But when you look at the scale of it, the amount of it, then it kind of like, it contradicts all that. Like it's okay. This is all her like, this is some of the later stuff, but this is all like collaged out, her stuff. Like check that little thing out.
Wow.
That's the dude. That's that guy. Like she would sit there like, you know, imagine the old lady sitting there going through the stories in their photo album or something. Like she would bust this out and sit there and like talk about it. She was a gymnast. And there's a picture that seems to have fallen off somewhere. Of her like bending over backwards, man. I bet that it fell off or her niece snagged it, man.
She was a beautiful lady too on her day, huh?
Yeah, she was. Yeah, they pulled it apart, dude. There were a couple of pictures of her on here that are gone now.
It's like the one by your left hand, maybe.
No, there's one missing from here, and there's one missing from up there. There's one of them that was so cool that was her like, ooh, look at that picture. Is that her fighting herself? I think so, dude.
It is a double exposure.
Check it out. Her fighting herself, her going at it, looking herself in the eyes, dude. Come on. I mean, seriously, dude. What's up? And then her and her husband pointing rifles at one another. Cut in half. Dude, come on. She's aiming a rifle at her husband, which is this dude that was like this artist that used to draw, like he was her teacher at first with the paintings and stuff. But then she claims that she got better than him, so he couldn't handle it.
He's sitting there with his hand on the sculpture's ass. It's like, what's up with that?
And then this one on his head. I mean, this is tripped out. She was a real heavy lady, and I felt very lucky to have had the opportunity, got to know her the way that I did. Because now it seems like the two of us serve a purpose in each other's lives, because I'm going to take it upon myself to distribute this art to the world. And through doing so, I think that my art will get more exposure. I think. You know, like this gives my art a little bit more of a purpose.
That's what she would have wanted.
Yeah, no, she's down. No, she'd trip out on it because it's like she was painting for this project. She was painting. She spent her whole life working on a story that just now unfolded in like 2008. You know, like she was working all that time on this piece that is going to be shown to the world in the early part of the 2000s when she was working on it all through the 1900s. Just so many. I mean, they just keep on and on.
That's wild. You know, he had his hand on
that one.
this piece.
Yep, that's the one.
That's the one, huh? Oh, wow.
More of our Tai Chi stuff. Look at that one.
Doing some light painting with Tai Chi.
Dude. I mean, that's like a real person. You know, like this. I look at something like this. This is like, I don't know, standing in this world sometimes with her. Like it seems like this would be what it would be like if one of the great artists, like I don't know, Picasso or you know, like I don't know. Well, looking at this, like Georgia O'Keeffe, because that's what that looks like. Is Georgia O'Keeffe's art. But what if she just sat there and did it in her house and then she never showed anyone? And one day someone discovered this whole treasure trove of the art that this real prolific great artist had been working on. But instead of them exposing everyone to it through their life, they waited until they died to unveil the whole thing. That's what this is. That's what this is.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
But it gets weird like that because, like I say, I look at something like that and that looks like a ripoff of some Georgia O'Keeffe style stuff, you know? So it's kind of hard to put that kind of value on it unless you knew her personally, unless she told you the stories about it. Where, like, I was telling you the story before about this one, where she, whenever, like, the first time I ever met her, she was showing me through all of her art, and she came up on this one, and she was all like telling me, "Oh, I paint my dreams," and you know, I was tripping out on her that day because that was the first time that I met this totally badass artist, you know, and she's like welcoming me into her world, and she pulled this one out, and she's all like, "I had this dream that there was someone beating at my back door. It was like they were trying to tear the door down. They were banging and beating and smashing at the door." And I was so afraid of who was trying to get in and what they wanted to do to me, but I couldn't help but go and answer the door. Even though I was frightened, I had to answer the door. And then I opened the door, and this is who was there. So,
Person handing her a rose.
a black guy standing a rose at the back door after boom, 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 boom. Like I'm imagining that dream of someone beating down the door. Have you ever had a dream where someone's trying to beat their way in?
Yeah.
And it's all scary, like, what do they want from me? You know? And then you open the door and they're all like, you hear like little kid music playing in the background. Someone like with the Jack in the Box.
That piece is really gorgeous though, huh?
I mean, dude, look. I mean, that's a piece out of, like, they're everywhere. Oil.
Was that bleeding oil?
That's what I said, bleeding oil. And a lot of these are the ones that I'd never seen before until I found that these are photographs of the ones that are inside of that portfolio I was talking about. Like there were these portfolio booklets that are just stuffed full of these things, man. I want to make postcards out of each and every single one of them. I'm going to make postcards out of each and every single one of them. Hello? What's up, Manny? All right, I'll have to go let you in. I'll be right back. All right, bye. So you're ready to go? I gotta go that hand. All right. I didn't even know these things existed.
Wow.
I photographed, scanned, and double scanned and pieced together about 400 pieces, 250 pieces, and here they are where I could have just simply scanned it into the computer. And I didn't even know that these things existed, that these photographs of each one of these pieces. I've never seen this book.
Thank goodness, right?
Well, I spent all that time scanning them all in, but I guess this is cool because now I got all of their titles. A lot of them have these titles on the back.
Is that 1939?
1989.
Oh.
These are some 66. The sculptures are mainly the 30s. Like she had, in the 30s, the stuff that I've seen from the 30s is when she was in school.
You know, I think it's so far too the favorite piece I've seen on Tai Chi, and this one just I don't know, man, something about that was just
Oh, it's haunting, dude, to me.
Yeah, unbelievable.
But then, like I say, that's just what you seen, bro. I mean, look around, look at them, like they just keep on and on, and that's where it's like those are the ones that are on the top of the pile that we're looking at. You know what I mean? Like that's the only reason we're seeing them, is because those are on top of everything. I got that one in my house right now. That was sick.
Whoa, that is unbelievable.
It's got, and right now they cut a whole bunch of it off. There's a thing right here that looks like a flying saucer and light coming down off of it, and then the fire in the building is part of her head. I have that one up in my house too. And that's a canvas, a big painting. It's like 1954, man.
1954.
Man bursting with light. Ooh, when I was able to quote that shit out of my head too. 1954, dude. And there it was. Yeah, man, I mean, whew, it's badass stuff. And here goes, like I said, 2007, 2008. I mean, whatever, she got all these names for everything. There's joy and complacency.
Yeah,
Joy.
Read through some of the more of the names.
There's joy, complacency. Ooh, who are those guys? That's the girls. That one is self-portrait and many faces. There she is banging at the door. The men and dead mother watches me in sleep. Dead mother watches me in sleep. That's the noise she makes. I gotta go, that's one of the gate. Just about finished. And now the main objective is to put on a show here in LA and a show in Dallas so that I can show the art to a bunch of people and show the project to everyone so that then eventually I'd like to, hopefully I could put on a show that's cool enough, that works enough so that somebody would come along and get involved in sending it out around the country. So I want to do like a show in LA because I live here, a show in Dallas because I'm connected there, so that we're setting up this nationwide tour. You know, that would be the main goal, is to get it on the road. But I want to take it in semi-trucks and in buses and set up a tour that's like a rock and roll tour, but touring art venues, and then doing an art show that's a part of a rock show. So I have musicians that are out on tour with us.
And green-haired girls.
Huh?
And
green-haired girls. Oh yeah, no, pink-haired.
Pink-haired girls.
We're
We won't
well
quit
known
over
over
colors.